What's up, guys? Welcome back. So today I want to talk about what not to do whenever you experience new symptoms when it comes to your anxiety. Let's just be real. Symptoms change on us. And I had health anxiety, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made was doing the same thing over and over and over again when my symptoms would change. And it would just lead to me spiraling. It would make a new symptom turn into my focus point for the next X amount of time, months usually at the minimum. Sometimes it would be up to a year and a half. And I would go right back into this cycle of fear, focus, negative thoughts, catastrophizing, constant body scanning, checking, Googling, and it would just start all over. And it was so frustrating. And there were times that I felt like this cycling, this pattern would never end. But there were some things that I was doing wrong each time my symptoms would change. And I think that this is crucial, right? And I'll give you some examples. I went through my heart anxiety for 2.5 years. I finally gained acceptance that it was anxiety, right? Which is great. To get past heart anxiety and cardiophobia, if you've ever had it, that's a major feat. In my opinion, that was the worst part of my anxiety, that first 2 to 2.5 years, constantly thinking that I was having a heart attack, always dealing with chest pain, extremely fast heart rate. So when I finally gained acceptance of that it was anxiety, talk about a load off, all right? And things seemed to be okay. There were many problems that I hadn't addressed. I hadn't addressed my problems with death and dying and disease. I hadn't made some type of a peace with that. You never fully make peace with that. Like, I'm not just really cool with dying or getting a disease, but I turn it into a healthy fear, right? But that's for a whole nother video. But I never did that, right? There were some other root causes. I didn't change the way that I handled adversity. I didn't really change my catastrophizing. So guess what? Down the pipeline, you're gonna feel bad at some point, either caused by, remnant anxiety that you hadn't solved or resolved, or you're just gonna get a stomach ache, or you're just gonna get a headache, or you're gonna still feel something because you're still sensitive. I think the sensitivity, even whenever you finally gain acceptance of a set of symptoms or a symptom, I think the sensitivity part carries over and lags on even whenever you're consciously doing a lot of good stuff, right? Or if you consciously accept anxiety. So you're still gonna feel things more so than the average person, even though you gained acceptance for a certain set of symptoms, which means you're gonna feel things in your body 10 times more. So I had a stomach issue a couple weeks after I'd finally accepted my heart stuff. Had a stomach issue, and then I put my focus into that, right? So that was my first mistake. When you notice a new symptom, if you sit there for the whole day and focus on it, that's all it takes to drag this out for weeks, okay? And then if you spend a few days doing it, you can drag this out for months. So mistake number one that I made whenever I experienced new symptoms, I would immediately focus in on that symptom. The brain is so powerful that it can send tension and mimic the symptom or the sensation that you felt. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, my 2 cents, over and over and over again, right? We have the symptoms we fear the most. So now that I had dropped my fear of the chest pain and the fast heart rate and the heart-related symptoms, and now I feared what was going on in my stomach, guess what happened every single day? I had stomach pain in that same spot every single day for 3 months. So that was my first mistake. The next mistake, I started on my spiraling and catastrophizing. What is this? What's going on? Oh my God, is this a disease? Is this cancer, right? What I should have done was stopped for a second, and this is what I encourage you to do next time. I have a history with this. Some of you have years of history with this stuff. So I should have stopped right there and said, Trey, look, for the past 2.5 years, you've been thinking that you've had a heart problem, right? And trust me, there were some other disease scares mixed in with that, right? It wasn't just strictly the heart. That was just my main squeeze for 2.5 years, so there was that. I should have just said, Trey, I have a history of this. I've been dealing with this for years. I've been checked out by a doctor. All my tests are good. I've been checked out tons of times, disease is progressive. By now, something would have showed up. I do have technically anxiety disorder. I've been diagnosed by a doctor. I have a history of spiraling. I have a history of assuming that I'm having a disease and that I'm dying, and every single day I wake up and I'm fine, right? I should have then said, I'm gonna give it a few days, and then I need to schedule an appointment and get some peace, right, if it continues. That was the next thing that I did wrong. I always was afraid to go to the doctor whenever I experienced symptoms for the first time. Whenever I would have a new symptom, I would get scared and I'd be like, oh my God, I can't bear to find out I have a heart problem, that I got stomach cancer, that I got, throat cancer or lymphoma. I can't bear the news. Please, maybe it is anxiety. I don't know. I just go into this confusing battle with myself. Like, you'd think that I'd go to the doctor to find out that I don't have something, so I can move forward and get a peace of mind. But I was so terrified to hear that I had something wrong. So this is what I experienced with my stomach issue. And whenever my symptoms changed to the throat and to the head and to my legs, and anytime my symptoms would change, I'd go through this period of at least a few weeks to a month or two where I would be terrified to find out that it was a disease, right? Which is confusing, I know. After a few days, if the symptom persists, go ahead and get some reassurance from a doctor. I know that's at some point you have to cut off the reassurance, but if your symptoms change and they've been there for a few days and you've been doing a pretty good job at trying not to focus on them, you've still been doing your routine, you've been doing everything that's good for anxiety, but it just continues to persist, nothing wrong with getting a little peace of mind from an actual doctor, right? We want to be safe and not sorry. So I should have did that. I should have gotten my reassurance quicker, right? And then cut it off at the back end. Instead of what was going on with me, I would wait, and then I would go, and then I wouldn't believe them, and then I'd go, and I'd drag it out. So try to get some reassurance after a few days. I'm not telling you to rush to the ER right when you feel something for the first time. Obviously, if you feel like you can't breathe and something is seriously wrong, by all means go. But I'm talking if it's just a little something that's nagging you or something like that. My personal rule for me, and you don't have to, you're going to adopt your own rules. My personal rule for me was I was going to start waiting a few days, and if it persisted, go get checked out, get a peace of mind. So that was another mistake. I waited too long to get that peace of mind. By that point, I had obsessed, focused on it so much that the symptom solidifies. And guess what? Now it's going to be harder to get rid of that symptom, even if I do get a peace of mind. So hopefully that makes sense. My next mistake that I made, and so many of you make this, is each time my symptoms change, guess what I did? I jumped on Dr. Google. God, you would have thought by like the third or fourth time of my symptoms changing, I would have learned. No, I was in no position to handle what I was going to see, because guess what? I was starting to do a few things for my anxiety, but working on catastrophizing and working on trying to not believe that I was the tiniest statistic every time was not part of my, my recovery plan at the time, right? So I wasn't really working on those things. So every time I saw something horrible, I was believing it. And the best thing for me was to just stay away from that and try not to play doctor and instead go to the. So I'm not going to the doctors early on after a few days of noticing a symptom to get some reassurance from an actual doctor. Instead, I'm looking up Google, I'm Googling symptoms, and I'm trying to play doctor, and I'm assuming that I have all the worst stuff because all the worst stuff is at the top. So I would Google whenever I would notice new symptoms. New symptoms are a part of the journey. If you have unresolved issues, if you have root causes you haven't addressed, if you haven't changed your life, if you don't have a routine, if you're not doing exposure and all these things, the messages change, right? The symptoms change. Start viewing the symptoms as a message. Your subconscious is wanting you to make some changes. It's wanting you to work on yourself. So whenever you aren't paying attention to the chest pain anymore because you accept that it's anxiety, that's cool and all, but if you still have issues, your subconscious is going to reach out to you and try to get some help in some way. So, if the chest pain wasn't working, maybe the stomach pain will get your attention, and maybe it's a headache that'll get your attention. So when symptoms change, it just means that there's still work to be done, all right? But if I would have handled the symptom changes a lot better, I think I could have cut my whole anxiety journey in half, from 5 years down to like 2 to 2.5 years. If I would have just worked on that. So many of you are so close to recovery whenever you are so close to at least entering recovery when you finally gain some acceptance of the symptoms that you fear right now. The problem is, the thing that drags us out is what happens when you get a cold? What happens when your head hurts in 2 weeks? What happens when you have stomach pain? And some of this could be caused by, again, remnant anxiety, but sometimes crap happens. Sometimes you just feel some weird stuff. And then thirdly, you're still going to be sensitive even if you're starting the recovery process. You're still going to be sensitive because you focus for so long. Your body is very sensitive. You're going to feel everything in it. everything that's going on, every gurgle, every bubble, every movement, any weird sensation in your head, you're gonna feel it all. But hopefully this video helps change your actions when your symptoms change if you wanna cut this whole thing in half, right? This whole journey in half, right? So let's start doing the right things. Learn from the mistakes that I made, that I shared with you today, okay? So hopefully this video helps. If you're interested in recovery and you're ready to work hard, be sure to grab my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. I'm gonna put that down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. It's helping so many people. I want you to be a part of that. Super affordable as well, which is a bonus. Also, online therapy, try that out today. You can do it on the phone, the laptop, the PC. You don't have to go out and make an actual physical appointment or get out of the house. You can actually do it at home. So really, there's no excuse to not try therapy at least a few times, right? It's very, very convenient. This site actually makes it convenient for you. So I'm gonna put a link to that as well down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. My coaching info is down there. Guys, please subscribe if you're new. Be a part of this family. And guys, if you have subscribed, do me a huge favor because I'm uploading a lot more now. Been pretty consistent the past week. Hit the notification bell so you can get notified. That's a big deal right there. So do that. YouTube doesn't do a great job of pushing my videos out to 80,000+ subscribers for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I think maybe like 500 of you get notified whenever I make a video. That's pretty terrible, right? So hit that bell. It helps me out. And like this video if you got some value. And I will be talking to you guys tomorrow. Until next time, I love you and keep fighting.